What is up, everybody? Hope you're having a great day, man. Lots going on here in the world of soccer. We have the Gold Cup starting, MLS still going on, lots of things going on there. We got also Trafico coming July 4th edition next week. So much going on. It just seems like every week we get more and more tournaments, more and more games, and that's going to happen with the field summer. But here to help me talk about all that, we got Justin Ruderman. Justin, how you doing?
Doing well, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's Nations League over, right into the next international competition with the Gold Cup, and MLS just keeps on rolling as the summer comes into uh, full swing. So, all soccer all day.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. Did you do anything else outside of footy, Justin? Did you do anything else?
Yeah, man. I went to Venice Beach yesterday. Had a little birthday
Okay,
celebration with a friend of mine. Not my birthday, some of my
I was
friends,
gonna
but
say.
yeah, yeah. But no, it was good time. It was finally we're getting some weather back in Los Angeles. It's a little bit hot enough to go to the beach. The water's still cold, but still worth it, right?
Bro, it's anytime you can go to the beach, it's always a good time. I'm not too far from Venice, but yeah, I like going there again, getting some. You're right. It's been like a gloomy year, rainy year this far, and like now at least this week, it's felt hot for me. Now I've had to use my AC more consistently, because there's a couple days that you still had to you still like I know it's still chilly, but now it's starting to feel like summer. Like I said, anytime you get hit the beach, you can feel the sun rays. You go walk down. So you got into the water. You got inside the water.
Yeah, man. Only because my friends are beach people. I'm not, the biggest beach person, but I do it for my friends. And they kind of, that peer pressure gets you in.
Hey, you'll fall into that kind of peer pressure, which is good. I can tell, like, yeah, you got some color, which is always good.
Oh yeah, no man, I forgot to put sunscreen on my face. I put sunscreen all over my body, but I forgot my face. So that's why I'm a little red today.
You're burning up a little bit. Well, that's good. Well, I didn't get an opportunity to go to the beach. Maybe I can go sometime this week because that's something I've been wanting to do. So did you see any like the Venice Beach football? Did you see any of those guys going on? They usually play footy right there, right by like the basketball course.
Yeah, no, I mean, I only walked over that area towards the end when it was a little bit darker, and I saw some basketball, but yeah, it was just getting darker at that point.
Gotcha. Well, look, let's get into it. Like I said, Gold Cups has started just in, like you said, one tournament to another. The first game, I believe, it was the USMNT national team versus Jamaica. That was obviously the the biggest one on Saturday. What were your just thoughts? I know you were also at LAFC. The game was kind of going on. I was just kind of switching back and forth from the games. What do you think about obviously the U.S. national team? It was a draw. I know not that many people were satisfied with the result. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, I got to watch some of that first half, not so much the second half, but I know people weren't very happy with necessarily the performance, but I wasn't so surprised with the result. I mean, Jamaica are a very good team, and to me, they are, if not the favorites, one of the favorites coming into this Gold Cup because of just their roster on paper. I mean, they're made up of a lot of Premier League players, and I tweeted that out. I said, people seem to be forgetting that the Jamaica team is made up of Premier League players, while the American team is made up of MLS players, and there's a big difference there. So for everyone to just assume that the US is going to beat Jamaica because the US normally beats Jamaica, because if they bring their first team, they're beating Jamaica, doesn't mean that that's going to be what's happens in the Gold Cup. Um, I know a lot of people talked about Aaron Long. He came out at halftime with potential injury or precautionary at least. Jalen Neal, I have said for a long time, is one for the future, and he had a great performance from what I hear. So there are some positives to take as well. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily a bad result to draw Jamaica. Obviously, you want to win those games because that's what you need to do to win the tournament. But to me, that could easily very well end up being the final of the tournament.
Yeah, Jamaica's always has always been a strong team. When it's come to the Gold Cup, I remember a couple of years ago they were just they went to the final. Like I think want to say 2016, 2017, they were in the final against Mexico. So they've always had pretty good runs when it comes to Gold Cup, and I think I also feel like this year could be the year that another team outside of U.S. or Mexico wins it, because I think it's only U.S., Mexico, and Canada are the teams that have won it. And I think Jamaica is one of those teams. To me, I think also Panama could be one of those teams that wins it. Obviously, U.S. and Mexico are always there, but that's one of I guess one of the critiques of this tournament is when you have when you have the same countries winning and winning, there's question about this tournament. So I would like to see another country eventually win it. I hope that happens this year. But yeah, Mexico and I mean U.S. has still, even with MLS players, um, they have a decent enough team. But yeah, to me, when I just saw, like, I just briefly saw the game, I was kind of surprised. I kept seeing a lot of things about why Brandon Vasquez didn't get the start. Obviously, he scores within a couple minutes of being in to tie it up 1-1. Yeah, so it's interesting what you'll see, because obviously you still got BJ Callahan being the coach for the Gold Cup, which is still such a weird situation. Even Greg Berhalter is going to be the coach. What do you make of that whole situation? Obviously, because there is like some things out there, like about Greg Berhalter having some influence, obviously, on this in tournament or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter conspiracies that he's picking the lineups, right? I don't think it would go that far probably, but I'm sure he's having conversations with BJ Callahan. It would not make sense to me if he wasn't. He is going to be the US men's national team head coach in a few months, and BJ Callahan is probably going to be his assistant. So they have to remain, they're going to have a good relationship, as they always have. Um, but yeah, as far as that, we'll see. It's very interesting. I saw on Twitter that somebody said on the 2 broadcast that they mentioned something about Greg having discussions or having a hand in the lineup. Then Michele denied that on Twitter. I don't know what the situation was. Not only was I only able to watch so much of it, but I wasn't watching on 2 so I don't know what that case may be.
Mhm.
But definitely interesting talking point.
Yeah, I did see it too. I obviously wasn't watching the game, just going back and forth from the, but it's because you have to imagine that he has some influence. Obviously, well, we have the decision making on lineups. I don't think it's far fetched. To be honest with you, if he's a coach, I don't think that's too far fetched. But I could see a lot of the frustration with fans, just how they made the announcement is just going to spill over to anything. Whenever the U.S. men's national team doesn't have a good result. To switch things over, Mexico got the win. Obviously, they appointed Jimmy Lozano as a coach. I think, to me, it's big. I think it's big for Mexico to have a Mexican head coach. I believe it's been 7 years since Mexico has had a head coach. Has been Mexico. The last one being Piojo Herrera, Miguel Herrera being the last one. Yeah, obviously, we went back to back. Our Argentinian coach Tata Martino, which was a horrible situation with him. I believe probably one of the worst coaches Mexico has ever had in my lifetime, from what I've seen. Just how they went, and see Diego Coca just recently just got let go. And I think Mexico, I expected Mexico to have a Mexican head coach right after Tata Martino. I don't know why they elected to go with Diego Coca, but now that they have Jimmy Lozano, who they keep calling their interim head coach, I think it's very important. You had even players like Alvarez, who said that they never had a Mexican national team head coach, and that makes an impact for a player like that. A lot of the new generation, a lot of players that are playing in this cycle, last cycle, they haven't had a Mexican coach. And I think, to me, that's so important to have that, because of what the turmoil and everything, and the situation has been going on with the team. You need someone that's familiar with these players. Which he obviously took them to the Olympics. They won the Olympics. Not only just that, but also to someone that represents the country, represents the pride, it's grown up, and has similar background, similar things. I think that's what this team has needed the most. Now, do I think they're going to be successful? That's still such a long-term thing for that. I'm sure it was 4-0. I think it's okay. I'm not get excited about it. It's Honduras, like but like you need a found. No, I'm being honest. You need a foundation from a Mexican coach, and if it's Jimmy Lozano, hopefully be the head coach. I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it, but I definitely feel like they need a Mexican coach. They've been going through too many turmoils, too many struggles. Like I said, even if they win the Gold Cup, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'd be satisfied or anything like that. I think you need a big win game. Your team be able to beat the U.S., be able to beat Canada, and all those different things. But we'll see if this is the right step. And the stadium NRG Stadium, I believe it was like 66,000 after the last game we saw, which was a pretty empty stadium. So you kind of see how that like, a quick head coach change just changes things. I know a lot of people on Twitter were saying like they're essentially biting the Mexican national team because of what's been going on. You make head coach change in the stadium. So I think Mexico's always going to have that big influence, but you need to win consistently, and you need to beat the bigger teams. We'll see what that is. I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Justin, or curious about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm by no means an expert on the Mexican national team, but I agree with what you're saying about having a Mexican coach, just in the sense that I believe every country should have a manager from their country. I think that's how you get the best out of a national team, and that was, my issue with potentially bringing on Patrick Vieira, or why I would have preferred Jesse Marsh over Patrick Vieira. I think they're both very good coaches, but I think having an American coach is very important. As for the U.S. team, same thing for Mexico. I always go back to, no team has ever won the World Cup with a foreign coach. So obviously not necessarily the goal of the U.S. or Mexican team at the moment, but it is lending to the point of you're not going to reach your full potential if you have a foreign coach. Just maybe that they don't have the same passion or desire for that job, because it's just a job rather than something more than that, right? And so that's not to say there can't be success, but I agree with what you're saying, Gio, and I think it is an important thing. And if Mexico were to win this Gold Cup, I think that would be a big statement for Mexico. Obviously, it's not the full U.S. squad and other things, but it would still be a big win for them, I think. And do you think that would be enough for Lozano to get appointed? Because I think that would potentially be enough.
I think there's just so much influence with the Mexican national team, with the federation in Mexico. I think obviously, yeah, if he wins it, then you gotta see. I want to see like give him the job. Obviously, you just went through the turmoil, but I think there's also like I think that the the stigma on him, or the I guess the thoughts out there, from what I'm sensing is that he's too young. He doesn't have the experience that other coaches. But I think, look, like to your point that you mentioned, you need to have a coach that has the same passion and doesn't just has a job. When you become a pointed head, you just bleed, and you just bleed that, and you feel it a lot more. I never felt that from Tata Martino. Obviously, I never towards the end, I gotta see like right one game. I think the last game before they left to the World Cup against Peru, I was like, they're not making another group stage. He was already checked out. And with Jimmy Lozano, you already feel the energy, you feel the passion, you feel like, he's like, and you're like, this is what we needed. I would like to see him, like I said, but I think the influence in the federation, I think they have questions, and I don't know why you would have questions when this guy has a proven track record and is built and is proven to show that he believes in the young studs and all these different things. But we know with federations, even with the U.S. and Mexico, it doesn't matter what you kind of see. It's also the relationships are up top and what they see, because they ultimately make the decisions. But yeah, I think if he has a solid run, you're already hearing positive things from the players. Edson Alvarez, Ochoa, all these players are talking positive about him, and that's what you want, and that's what you see. But with the Mexican Federation, you never know. You never know. It's up in the air. But I would love to see him stay on and be the head coach.
Yeah, it'll be absolutely interesting to see how this Gold Cup plays out, because I think it's one of the most open Gold Cups we've seen in a long time. I think at least 4, if not 5 or 6 teams could win it. So you just don't know.
Yeah, and I hope like tournaments like this, you want other countries and Central American countries and the Caribbean countries, right, to be stronger, be better. But if the same, like I said, just to start this, if the same teams are winning, it's not so much of a it's not so much of a tournament. But we'll see what happens. I'm very interested to see the teams perform more than Mexico or US. That's where I'm more curious and interested with that. And also the final will be at SoFi Stadium. It's going to be here in LA. The final SoFi Stadium in LA. So depending who makes it obviously out the group and out there. Let's switch things over, Justin. Let's talk about obviously your BMO Stadium. LAFC lose. They ended up losing to Vancouver Whitecaps. I believe this is the first time they've lost to the Whitecaps at home. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it was an interesting game. Whitecaps played a really, really good game. They probably played one of their best games all year. They were very, very physical against LAFC. They looked like the A side, and for most of the majority of the game, LAFC kind of looked like a B side. Obviously, there was a little bit of back and forth. But give me your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was a big win for LAFC midweek, especially, over Seattle, the 1-0, coming back home and breaking that, home skid. But then it is back to the losing at home, and it was a good performance from LAFC in a lot of ways, but missing that final product, missing those final passes. There was just sloppy passing in general, just basic stuff that LAFC was missing on the day. And Vancouver had a fantastic game plan, executed it to near perfection, and came out with the goals. So despite, LAFC having 63% possession, and I think it was well over 70 in the second half, the shots and the shots on target are basically identical, right? And I think the biggest difference in that match was what you mentioned, a little bit of that physicality. It was just duels won. I'm not sure what the exact numbers were, but Vancouver had like 70 something duels won to LAFC's 40 something. It was just the 1v1 battles. Vancouver was going and winning them more, and came out with that 3-2 win that they probably deserved.
Yeah, their head coach was ecstatic after that when he was up and down. And look, anytime you could beat LAFC at home, it's a big win, obviously for the opposing club and the way they do it, because it's obviously for the most part it's been a fortress. I kind of also wonder. Obviously, we know there's a lot of players that have been injured. I really do
Mhm.
see like there's also fatigue. I'm starting to see like a lot of fatigue in these games. Look, obviously, there was a big win against the Sounders on Wednesday. I believe it was a Bogus that got that goal, the 1-0. They played a solid performance against the Sounders. Obviously, and then you come back and lose against the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are not near the level of the Sounders or LAFC, right? And I kind of wonder if there's a little of fatigue, not just for the players, but also for the coaching staff, because there's been so many games, and I feel like obviously they got out the slump, the not winning slump. Then they get a big one, and then they kind of fall back. I kind of wonder, like so many games, it has to be catching up to them, man. It just has to, and I think when you're able to, I think eventually they're going to be able to relax a little bit more, but right now it's just so tight with all these games coming. I don't think they got a midweek game this week, right? They don't have a midweek game. But then they got one that I believe this weekend against Dallas, and then again Tuesday for the July 4th against Galaxy. So it's still a tight schedule for them.
Yeah, no, but this break is crucial, right? Because for the first time in however long months, LAFC don't have a midweek game, right? The last break was that right before that CCL final, or between the CCL final, even. Um,
A month
right,
ago.
right, and that was a month ago. But even if you don't include that, it's been two plus months, I think, without a break. A game every 3.5 days, which is just unsustainable. And so to finally have this break is really crucial, especially when you look at the next. There is this next run of games where it's starting on Saturday, 5 and 15 once again. and you have those 5 and 15 heading into Leagues Cup, which then LAFC should get their big break because they have the buys of the group stage in Leagues Cup when they don't have to play. So that will be the big break coming up. And so it's like this mini break. Can you reset your mentality, reset and think, okay, we have 5 games in 15 days that can actually be very decisive in the Western Conference when we look back on this stretch, I think, because, LAFC are level at the top of the Western Conference right now with St. Louis on 32 points. They have a game in hand. And so if LAFC can take this next 5-game stretch and perform with 2 of them are at home and then, that kind of home game at the Rose Bowl, it will be a big stretch, and we could look back on it as the way that LAFC either won or potentially lost the Western Conference during this time, I think.
Yeah, it gets tricky with all these things, and also, what players are they bringing in this summer transfer. And I think that's the big thing, right? Because a lot of people are asking for a number 9. We see Chicho, who obviously came back to the league and now is playing for RS. So, and I think the recruitment, and you got, I think Mamadou Fall was at BM Stadium this weekend. They need another center back. Aaron Long's gone. Kelly, obviously, he's not able to play full 90 minutes. So many injuries there. Murillo, there's just so many different players that you expected to be there. Even like Acosta, to Tillman, like those haven't played 90 minutes and I don't know how long, or been for them. I think that's what's really hurting them. And I think Ilya was playing center back this week. So it's just you got so many moving parts, man. Like, you got to, and that's what it is. And the unfortunate thing is the roster restrictions doesn't really help this team out. And I think hopefully, not making an excuse for them, but hopefully with this many games, you got to open it up for these teams. You just got to. When a team has these big of aspirations and plays this games, you open it up, because then that's why you have so many injuries. That's why so many different things. Yeah, you can call the LAFC up and all these things, but it just doesn't go with the games that they're playing. You're starting it. That's why you have these injuries, you have this fatigue, and I think the summer transfer will whoever they decide to pick up or whoever they bring in, hopefully gives them like another breath of fresh air, like when they got Buongo, obviously when they got Bale and they got Chiellini last summer. Obviously, I don't expect those big names to come this summer, but who knows? But I think whatever player that they bring in or players that they bring in this summer hopefully helps them give a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, no, it's a good point you bring up, because I think there's this kind of notion around the league that, well, LAFC are one of the biggest spenders already. Why do they keep complaining about needing to open up the roster rules and restrictions? Like, other teams, spend way less than them. And I think the key here is that, well, LAFC is playing way more games than everybody else, right? And LAFC has more players getting called into international duty than everybody else. So they're losing players. They're losing, whether it be to international duty or injury. And so that roster just shrinks and shrinks. And so even if that quality is there, because of the Los Angeles draw or the MLS Cup champion draw, whatever you want to look at it, there are other issues that are posed to LAFC that other teams also don't have to deal with, right? So it's a lot easier when you only have to play in MLS and you only have, 2 or 3 of your players getting called in international duty. It's a lot easier to be able to play over a long season than having to play every 3.5 days with 5 of your players on international duty and another 5 injured, right? It's impossible to do that.
No, you make a great point. Also, adding the international stuff. Yes, team don't get players called up and all these things. But like obviously, too, this LA, and I think when these things happen, you make a great point. People don't pay attention. So like they're already good in MLS. They're already good in this and that. But there's so much in and out, influx in and out. Right, Buanga was a Palacios. I think Sifu also was a couple of the players that called up. The influx are going in and out. They're like Buanga's playing a game over there. He has to go all the way to Africa and then fly all the way back and still available. Right? They're just intangible, big intangibles. Other teams don't have. They just don't have to deal with what happens. And look, I think it just should just be the the rules should just open up for so many teams. And look, now with Messi coming in, hopefully that opens it up, because that, to me, in my mind, does not make sense. Like you just don't open it. You got the best player in the world coming to this league. Hopefully that changes either this summer or this year, because once that opens up everything, more and more players are going to start coming in. More and more, the rosters can get deeper. The rosters are going to get more and more talented, and more rosters. Hopefully, it draws more attention, and then it also brings up the competition with Liga MX, and obviously the Club World Cup. Talking about the Club World Cup is going to be here in 2025, Justin. It's going to be here in the United States, a year before the World Cup is going to be here. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
It's incredible. It really is. I mean, the the boom of soccer in this country is just starting, and we're all seeing it, but we're really just at the precipice because of course we have Messi, but 2024 Copa America, 2025 um we have the Club World Cup. 2026, we have the World Cup for the men. 2027, we've put in a bid for the Women's World Cup that we could get as well. The Olympics are coming in 2028. There's just
2020.
it's just every single year there's a massive event for soccer in this country coming, and it's going to be incredible. And if you're a soccer fan in this country, I pray for your wallet.
Yeah, but also excitement. From you just mentioned, look, from 2024 to 2028, there's going to be a big soccer tournament here that anybody can go to, and that's going to be exciting. That's just going to open up the sport. You're going to have the best athletes here, playing beautiful game and having all these different opportunities, and it's gonna happen mostly out here in LA. Most all the big games will be here and all that, and that's what we expect. And and for the rest of them, hopefully, there's able to draw in more casual fans, more new fans, because that's how you grow the sport. That's how you get more interest when casual fans and really know the sport, draw people. I think also, like, I don't know anything about footy. I think or you've heard of Messi, and that just being able to draw people, because people are gonna want to go just to see Messi, right? And then you're gonna first time going to your first local club, right? Like Inter Miami is gonna now have a bunch new Inter Miami fans because Messi's gonna be there, right? And when Messi he plays here in September here in LA. A lot of people are gonna want to go to that game because it's Messi and he's gonna be playing in LA, and you're able to do all that, and then obviously blend that with those tournaments, Copa America, Club World Cup, and then the 2028 Olympics. I mean, the trajectory is only going up for the sport in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've already seen the Messi effect. Tickets are unaffordable already, 500 plus on every game that he's going to play, and jerseys are going to sell out in a second. I think they already sold out a while ago, and then they have to restock and all these things. It's the effect is a really unfathomable, and the only thing that you can even compare it to is Beckham or Pele. To me, this is bigger than either of those ever were. He is the greatest player of all time, and to have him here you really can't put into words what it means for this league. And hopefully he stays as long as that contract. Hopefully he puts that option on that contract, accepts that option, accepts another option and another option, because we want him here as long as possible.
Yeah, I do too. Because that's just gonna draw, players like potentially Neymar. When he loves Miami, we always see Neymar in Miami. He's good friends with Jimmy Butler. You see a lot of people in Miami, a lot of football players in Miami. You also got a bunch of I think I think your boy what is it, Jack Grealish? He likes New York, so a lot of people come to America, come
Busquets
to the
is already on
States.
his way.
Yeah, Busquets is always on the way, so it's like a lot of players they come to vacation in America. So now that they see the best player in the world do it, hopefully you start seeing a lot more of those players, and in turn, hopefully that increases the level, as that's what you would assume. Let's finish this off with this two things. Obviously, Campeones Cup, Tigres versus LAFC got announced. I think that's gonna be September 27th. We saw Denny Buanga and Gignac with the photo. I don't know if you saw that. What were your thoughts on the game and Boanga or Gignac?
I mean, congratulations to Tigres. A rematch or a chance for LAFC to get a little bit of revenge from that 2020 CCL final on Tigres. And yeah, it should be a really fun game. Fun to have it, in LA, and we'll be able to, be there and cover it. And of course, I mean, they're friends. They're French. They've been friends for a long time. Gignac and Boanga have. So I don't care about a picture. They're friends. Good for them. I'm glad that Boanga got to see his friend at the game.
Yeah, I liked it. I for some reason, when I first saw the photo, I didn't even realize they were playing here this weekend, Tigres, and I was like, when did they take this photo? And I realized, oh, this is recent. Like this just
Mhm.
happened just the other day, and for some reason I thought it was like back in the day, and I was like, no, that is a recent photo. And then obviously I went through like social media. I was like, oh, okay, he went to go see him. But yeah, they're gonna face down here like in a couple months. Let's talk about July 4th, because the next time I talk to you, obviously El Trafico July 4th. That was supposed to be the first big game of the year. The weather was pretty bad here in LA. Now July 4th, about a week from now, just over a week from now, LAFC versus the Galaxy. I believe the second edition of this year at the Rose Bowl, iconic stadium, iconic venue. Two of the biggest teams playing in the biggest rivalry in MLS.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, at the beginning of the year, Chicharito was injured, and everyone said, well, finally, at least the one good thing about it being postponed is Chicharito will be available, right? Nope. Out for
Mhm.
the year. Galaxy have lost Caceres as well. One of the worst teams in the league is just struggling with injuries even more. It's tough for them. They got a draw against Colorado, another poor team, this past weekend. So, we'll see. Hopefully, it will be a good game. I'm sure it'll be packed, and the fireworks and the festivities will be really fun. I hope the game on the fields can live up to it because, um, it normally does, right? Even in the beginning of the season, it was still in a very exciting 3-2 game with all types of excitement that you could ask for. So, it probably will be the same. But when you look at the two teams on paper, it does seem like just they're heading in opposite directions even more than they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the teams Galaxy haven't been able to catch a break at all, and it's been unfortunate because I think they had very high hopes. But yeah, I think this is it's gonna be a big game. Obviously, the Classico is always big. It doesn't like form doesn't matter in these games, as we know. But right now, even though with LAFC's currently up and downs, they are much better off than Galaxy's current situation with injuries. Yeah, and it's unfortunate with Chicharito, because I was really looking forward to a couple more Carlos Vela versus Chicharito, but looks like we've seen potentially the end of Chicharito in the MLS and obviously with the Galaxy. But hopefully, it's still a big game next week. I think that's it, guys. We've hit on a lot of things. We hit Gold Cup, what's going on around here in the league, and all that. So for Justin, this is Gio.